Something I'll just add to that since we're on the topic. You know what the issue is in this moment? Here's the issue. As WNBA players, we know the level of competition that's in the WNBA. And we also know the level of competition that's in college. They have been critical from a basketball standpoint. And yet those statements have been just blanket statements on how an entire group of people feel.
It feels good to stand up for yourself. It feels even better to stand up for others. That's Sue Bird, and she's not just talking about on-court defense. She's calling out the WNBA's biggest problem, and it's not what you think. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. You know how everyone's been talking about Caitlin Clark and all the buzz around her? Well, Sue Bird's got something to say about that, and it's gonna blow your mind. She's pointing out a huge issue in the WNBA that's been there for years, way before all this recent drama. Imagine this, a problem so big it's been affecting the league since day one. But nobody's really talking about it. That's what Bird's bringing to light. She's not just complaining about today's headlines. No, she's exposing something way deeper, something that's been messing with the WNBA for a long time. And trust me, when you hear what it is, you're gonna be shocked.
But it is just another moment where things get taken onto social media and they just grow and people spew and it turns into something that you can't even recognize within 24 hours. That's really what happened. That's where it started, that we must just dislike her, that we look at her side-eyed, that we don't want her to come in the WNBA and be successful, that we're hating on her. Something I'll just add to that since we're on the topic. You know what the issue is in this moment? Here's the issue. As WNBA players, we know the level of competition that's in the WNBA. And we also know the level of competition that's in college.
Remember when we said Bird was exposing something huge? Well, here it is. Racism, but not the kind you're thinking of. This isn't new. It's been part of the WNBA fabric from day one. And the recent drama? It's just scratching the surface of a problem that runs deep. You know how everyone's been talking about Caitlin Clark lately? Well, Sue Bird's got something to say about that, and it's not what you'd expect. She's not just talking about Clark's skills or the hype around her. No, she's pointing out something way bigger. Here's the thing. Bird's saying that racism in the WNBA isn't new at all. It's been there all along, hiding in plain sight. And now, with all this attention on Clark, it's finally coming to light. Bird dropped this bombshell. Caitlin didn't bring racism to the WNBA. This has been happening. That's huge! She's basically saying, hey, we've been dealing with this forever, and now you're all acting surprised. But here's where it gets really interesting. Bird's not blaming Clark for any of this. In fact, she's saying Clark's being used as a pawn in this whole mess. Imagine that. You're just trying to play basketball, and suddenly you're in the middle of this huge controversy that's been brewing for years. And it's not just Bird who's speaking up. Remember Dejanai Carrington? She got accused of intentionally trying to hurt Clark during a game. But Carrington fired back saying, I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me. It's like, come on, people. These players are professionals. They're not out there trying to take each other out. The WNBA Players Association is getting involved too. They're calling out the media for stirring up all this drama. They're saying that some of the stories going around are just making things worse, causing more racist and misogynistic reactions. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire that's already been burning. You know what's crazy? Bird's saying that they've been trying to tell us about this problem for years. It's not like racism in sports is some new concept, right? But for some reason, it's taken all this drama with Clark to really bring it to the forefront. So here's the real question. Why has it taken so long for people to start paying attention? Is it because Clark's such a big star? Or is it because the problem's gotten so bad that it can't be ignored anymore? Either way, Bird's making it clear that this isn't just about one player or one incident. It's about a whole system that's been letting racism slide for way too long. And now that it's out in the open, what's the WNBA going to do about it? So the WNBA's got a racism problem. That's bad enough. But what if I told you there's someone else adding fuel to the fire? Sue Bird's pointing fingers at the media, and she's not holding back. You thought you were getting the whole story. Think again. Let's talk about how the media's shaping the way we see WNBA players. It's not just about reporting scores and stats. No, they're painting pictures of these athletes, and sometimes those pictures are way off. Take what happened with Caitlin Clark and Dejounte Carrington.
They have been critical from a basketball standpoint. And yet those statements have been just blanket statements on how an entire group of people feel. When people were up in arms about Caitlin getting picked up full court, and we talked about this early in one of our podcasts, it was like, well, yeah, you have to. If you don't, she's going to drop 35 on you.
Yeah.
It's called like smart defense. Mm-hmm. I cannot stress enough how insulting that is. That is probably like potentially the biggest insult you could throw at an athlete.
USA Today's Christine Brennan asked a question that made it sound like Carrington was trying to hurt Clark on purpose. Can you believe that? It's like they're trying to create drama where there isn't any. Carrington wasn't having it. She fired back saying, "I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me." And you know what? She's right. These are pro athletes, not WWE wrestlers. They're out there to win, not to take each other out. But it's not just about one player or one incident. The WNBA Players Association is saying some media folks are actually baiting players. They're trying to get them to play along with these false stories that just end up causing more racist and misogynistic reactions. It's like they're setting these players up to fail. And for what? A few more clicks? Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe are saying enough is enough. They're calling for the media to step up and take responsibility, because right now, all these crazy stories are taking away from what really matters, the talent and the competition. You know what's wild? This isn't even a new problem. Bird's been trying to tell us about this for years, but it's like nobody was listening until now. Why is that? Is it because Caitlin Clark's such a big name? Or is it because things have gotten so bad that we can't ignore it anymore? Here's the real kicker. All this drama is taking away from what the WNBA is really about. It's not about who said what or who fouled who. It's about incredible athletes doing what they do best. But instead of talking about game-winning shots or amazing assists, we're stuck talking about all this other stuff. And you know who's losing in all of this? The fans. We're missing out on the real stories, the ones about how these players are changing the game and inspiring the next generation. Instead, we're getting fed all this drama that doesn't even matter on the court. So what's the solution? Bird and Rapinoe are saying we need to hold the media accountable. We need to call out these false narratives when we see them, because if we don't, nothing's ever going to change. Think about it. How many great stories are we missing out on because the media's too busy stirring up drama? How many players are getting overlooked because they don't fit into these crazy narratives? It's time for a change. We need to start focusing on what really matters in the WNBA: the talent, the hard work, and the incredible games these women are playing. Everything else? It's just noise. You know how everyone's been talking about the WNBA's problems? Well, there's someone who's supposed to be fixing all this, and Sue Bird's not happy with how it's going down. Change is needed, but it's not happening fast enough. There's a growing gap between the WNBA's rising popularity and its ability to protect its players. What's holding the league back from addressing its biggest issues? Sue Bird's not pulling any punches. She's calling out the WNBA and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert for dropping the ball on player protection. Bird's saying, the WNBA and league office, and Kathy's role specifically, is basically to protect and shepherd the league. And this is where I feel like she failed. That's some heavy criticism from one of the league's biggest stars. But here's the thing. The WNBA is more popular than ever. You'd think that would mean things are getting better, right? Wrong. Bird's saying that despite all the attention, the league's still not dealing with the big issues. Racism, misogyny, these aren't new problems. They've been around for years, but the league's response? It's like they're using a squirt gun to put out a forest fire. Think about it. The WNBA's got all these amazing players, all this talent, and they're getting more fans than ever. But behind the scenes, it's a mess. The players are dealing with racism and misogyny, and the league's just, what, watching from the sidelines? Bird's not just complaining, though. She's calling for real change. She wants the league to step up and actually protect its players. And it's not just about what happens on the court. It's about the whole system, how the media talks about players, how fans treat them, all of it. The WNBA Players Association is backing her up. They're saying some reporters are baiting players, trying to create drama where there isn't any. It's like they're more interested in stirring up controversy than talking about the actual game.
It led to the Twitter trolls and bots taking over. And what started there was this narrative of petty, jealous players hating on Caitlin. We as WNBA players were having basketball conversations, and everybody just took it to another place where we were attacking them as people. And college basketball is a very tricky evaluator of talent. There have been players that have had amazing college careers only to get to the WNBA as top picks and struggle.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Bird's talking about how people are learning from WNBA players in a new way. She says, "We started to learn people were learning from us and able to follow us in a different way. And who are we following? Black women. That's huge." The WNBA's got this incredible platform, but instead of using it to showcase these amazing athletes, it's letting all this other stuff get in the way. So what's the solution? Bird and others are saying we need big changes, not just little tweaks here and there, but real institutional change. They want the league to step up and actually protect its players. They want the media to be held accountable for the stories they tell, and they want fans to understand what's really going on. But here's the big question. Is the WNBA ready for that kind of change? Are they willing to admit there's a problem and actually do something about it? Or are they just going to keep pretending everything's fine while their players deal with all this stuff behind the scenes? Bird's making it clear. It's not enough to just talk about these issues. The league needs to take action. They need to stand up for their players, call out racism and misogyny when they see it, and create a culture where everyone feels respected and protected. And you know what? We've got a part to play in this too. As fans, we can choose what kind of WNBA we want to support. Do we want a league that sweeps its problems under the rug? Or do we want one that faces its issues head-on and works to make things better? So here's the deal. Sue Bird just blew the lid off the WNBA's biggest problems. We're talking racism that's been around forever, media making up stories, and the league just sitting on its hands. It's crazy, right? But Bird's not just complaining. She's saying we need to focus on what really matters, the game and the players' skills. Forget all the drama and look at the incredible talent on the court. You know what Bird said? It feels good to stand up for yourself. It feels even better to stand up for others. That's what it's all about. We need to have those tough conversations about racism and fairness in sports. It's time to support the players who are speaking up. So what can we do? Let's get behind the players and push for real change. It's not just about watching games anymore. It's about making the WNBA better for everyone.